is it likely, I'll take it down either road that you want, that the Browns trade one of those running backs because they do have Jerome Ford, you do have D'Ernest Johnson, you do have Kareem Hunt, you do have, and if so, who do you think would be the most likely to be traded?
Yeah, so it's very much likely to be one of the two guys that are on expiring deals. So that is D'Ernest Johnson or Kareem Hunt. I would say I still think it's more likely D'Ernest Johnson is the one moved on. And that's because in a year's time, both of those players are free agents. There's very little chance of Kareem Hunt re-signing in Cleveland, purely because it's going to be an expensive deal. And the Browns just don't have the money. They're putting it into Deshaun Watson, into other parts of the roster. You can't pay $6 million a year, and it'll probably be more on the next deal, to your running back two, when we can't afford money for our starting defensive tackles, we can't afford money in other parts of the roster. You need all of that money in your starters. And then D'Ernest Johnson is also on an expiring deal. So what you wouldn't want to do is have all three of those running backs back, and then in a year's time, you sat there with two hitting free agency, and you've got Nick Chubb and Oni Ford. So I think there's actually a better chance that Felton makes the roster than D'Ernest Johnson. And it's not because Felton's suddenly 10 times a better player of Johnson. It's just looking at career projections and the fact that Felton's under contract for 3 years. These other guys are under contract for 1 year. And all of those numbers do come into play. And if we remember a year ago, everyone was telling me there's no way Sheldon Richardson's going to get cut. Something that I was keenly saying, this looks like it should happen. And he was the best defensive tackle on the roster, clearly the best defensive tackle last year, and they still cut him because it's just about the cost of the deal versus the other opportunities it opens up. So I think we're probably talking about 20% Hunt, 80% chance that D'Ernest Johnson's moved, but I think it might end up much closer than that. So certainly one to keep an eye on, and don't look at it as just a 1 year window. Look at that bigger picture. Health is going to be a big factor because it's okay having what you think Kareem Hunt's going to be valued, but if he's only playing half the season or 2/3 of the season, well, what are you doing for the rest of the season when he's out? So, hey, if it was me making the decision, I'm keeping D'Ernest Johnson, move Kareem Hunt on, get a pick in a trade, and you move forward because we have a historically good O-line and the best O-line coach in the NFL. They are going to open the holes up for any running back to run through them. And that's where the value of this team is and why we're seeing historically good rushing numbers comes from that talent there.